Hi everybody, welcome along to episode 123 of Percussion Discussion. I'm sorry this one's a week late, but I was at the UK Drum Show last week having a great time, and I wouldn't have had the time to get it all sorted, so we did skip a week. But here we are with episode 123. As usual, please check out all of our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads when I can remember to upload the stuff to there. Still quite new. So please have a look at that. Don't forget our world famous YouTube channel where you can find all of the conversations past and present with the video to accompany them. So you get to see my ugly mug as well. What a treat for you. If you'd rather listen on the go, then all of our conversations are available in podcast form. These are free to download from your favorite podcast provider. So if that's your thing, you know what to do. It's nice and easy. Just download it. Listen whenever, wherever. Please rate and review if you can. It takes a few minutes sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. But it's always nice to hear your thoughts, be it positive or negative, hopefully positive. Anyway, on to today's guest. Thrilled to have this gentleman. He's not known for doing podcasts. I don't know that he ever has, where he's just talked about himself, maybe talked about the band that he plays for. This guy had a huge impact on me as a teenager when I was starting to play, especially in the heavier end of the spectrum of music. He was a real influence on me. Big hitter, big drum kit, and just a great all-round player. He started off in pipe band and took it to a really, really high level. Then he joined a band called The Almighty, who he is best known for playing for. And the great news is, of course, they've reformed. They cleaned up during the 1990s. And they've reformed for 3 shows in December. So it gives me incredible pleasure, and I mean incredible pleasure, to welcome the incredible Mr. Stumpy Monroe. Stumpy, thanks for doing this, mate. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Nice to be here.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to have you. Now, we were talking a little while, and I said, we don't really see much of you anymore as a drummer. You know, you're doing a few other things, which we'll talk about. But and I said, have you done any of these? And you said that I think the last interview I did was with Rhythm Magazine. So it would have been going back a little while, that wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, particular interview about drumming or percussion.
Yeah.
I've obviously done interviews beside that, but I've kind of not been in that side of it for 20 years now.
Well, it's great to have you, and I have to thank our mutual pal Adam Parsons for putting us in touch. So he's a good one. So cheers, Adam. So I was going to say what's happening at the moment. Now we know there's exciting stuff coming up towards the festive end of the year. But what are you up to at the moment, Stumpy? Are you keeping busy?
Oh yeah. I'm always busy. I do quite a lot of tour managing for artists and production management for artists, and that keeps me very busy, especially since COVID. Very busy.
Yeah.
So I'm just about to start a 9-week tour that leads me right up to what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, and as far as like the tour managing and production management stuff, do you enjoy that? Do you get a good kick out of it as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's when the band, when our band originally split up, and looking about for session work at the time was quite difficult to get when you're just known as a rock drummer. The kind of session circuit was all sewn up then. So when you start getting asked to do things, it's like, well, I'm still travelling around the world. I'm still staying in nice hotels. Yeah. So you're kind of still doing the same kind of thing, only from a different viewpoint. And with all that experience to do over the years of touring, what else am I going to do? I ain't going to work in a bank, overqualified for most jobs when you've been doing this a long time. When you're handling £1 million accounts and budgets and whatnot, you try to get a job elsewhere, you're a threat to anyone. You're always overqualified.
Do you find is there more pressure doing the tour managing than there is actually performing a gig, do you think? Because you've obviously got a few things, you've got people relying on you to do stuff, haven't you? As you have in a band, of course. But is there more pressure, do you reckon?
Yeah, there's people on tour tend to not understand that everything they stand on, sit on, shit in, or eat has to be organised by someone. And it takes weeks and months to organise it all. Camrys to visas, everything. You know, every wheel that turns to get you anywhere has to be organised. Has to be organised correctly.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of pressure on it. I mean, from an artist's point of view, everything's done for you. Apart from selling tickets, you have to sell your tickets. You know, that's the pressure on the artist. There's ticket sales, really.
Yeah.
Virtually everything else is done for them.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, you've spent considerable time on the other side. So, and I'm sure you've given TMs and production managers hard times over the years, chasing you around trying to get you there on time. So, do you have a certain leniency as seeing it from the other side as well, or are you pretty tough on them?
Nah, pretty tough. Pretty tough.
I suppose you have to be.
Yeah, I can look back with embarrassment on various occasions, but you know, it's a timekeeper. No timekeeper for a drummer. It's ultimately important, you know. Yeah. It's, you know, you turn up 20 minutes late for the lobby call when everyone else is sat waiting on you. Is that fair on everyone else? And try explaining to the pilot when you've missed the flight that you were 20 minutes late because you couldn't be asking out of bed. You know, it's just
Has that happened at some point?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Really? Wow. It gets expensive as well, doesn't it? You know, things like that going on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's simple. You never have a flight by being early.
Yeah.
And you know, and you find people who are continually late must spend as much effort being continually late as you would put into being continually on time.
Yeah.
So you know, it's one thing when it happens now and again, you know, which you know, there's a certain leniency to that, but when it's the same person all the time, things have to be said.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. It gets a bit frustrating. I can imagine that. Anyway, look, it's, you know, as you say, you still tour in the world. You're doing it, you know, a different role, but hey. So I'd like to go back to kind of where music kind of caught fire for you. What's your first kind of memories of music, if you can remember that?
My very first memories of music was probably watching Top of the Pops when I was a kid. You know, in the early 70s.
Yeah,
I would have thought, and I do recall having a couple of pens and a beach ball and banging away along to Top of the Pops. But it was probably still in black and white then, right? But it was certainly early 70s. So that would be my earliest recollection of music. I think that was probably 4 or 5 or 6, 5 or 6 years old at that time. Yeah, something like that.
Top of the Pops is definitely a popular one for all the British guys. You know, I've never heard the beach ball before. I kind of get that though. It's going to sound pretty good, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't even know how it came about. I just have a vision of me sat with a beach ball and 2 pens banging away.
So it was meant to be then, this drumming lark. It was meant to be.
Apparently so, yeah.
So is there anything from that sort of era? I know you appreciate you're very young at 5 or 6. Is there anything musically that stuck out that you thought, yeah, that's good. I like that.
Probably not that early. I mean, when I started actually playing properly, it was probably 11. Just at the start of first year, as it was called then, whatever it's called now.
In old money.
Yeah. But yeah, that would have been about 11 was starting music proper. And of course, then it would have been, getting into punk at the time. Yeah. So, but prior to that, no real memories. I just remember hearing stuff on the radio and all that. Elton John and Kiki Dee, all that. Stuff sticks in my mind from then. Apart from my old man got an old 8-track for his car at the time. And he only had 2 cassettes for this 8-track. One of them was Simon Garfunkel's Greatest Hits, and that was just played constantly, for years. Which is no bad thing.
No. The thing is, with something like that, you can end up really loving it or going the opposite and absolutely despising it when you hear the same thing over and over.
Yeah, I still love it now. I actually downloaded that album from that company a few weeks ago because I hadn't heard it for such a long time.
Yeah, brought back some memories then.
So, yeah, it's cool.
So obviously, your introduction into drums, where did it start? What was what kind of got you into it, if you like?
Well, probably fell into it accidentally because when I was in secondary school, the school I went to had a very good and well-known school orchestra. So they were always very keen to find talent early on, you know. So you would be kind of cajoled into trying out for trumpet or saxophone. Everyone had to do this thing, and I actually went to try out for trumpet originally,
Okay.
and was told I didn't have the lips for it. And then I went to try out for drummers and percussion, and of course, it just let you down with a pad and a pair of sticks. Give me something very simple to do. But the tutor, as I know myself, because I tutored many times after that, you know automatically if someone's got timing or not. So then it kind of gets whittled down, and that's what it starts. So I started doing that. Very soon after that, I was given an old snare drum, and then from then I can't. It just kind of snowballed. As soon as you got some drummers, then you end up in a band with some local kids, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So I'd be in the school orchestra, the school jazz band. I was in 2 punk bands, and I also started playing in Highland pipe bands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and it was from the Highland pipe band. I then started getting tutored by the then 4 times world champion snare drummer Wilson Young. So rudimentary, I'm still pretty good at it. I can't do it, anywhere near as fast as I used to be able to do it. But yeah, I was rudimentary taught very well, which bodes well. You can usually tell when a drummer's rudimentary trained. Ian Pace, great example.
Yeah.
That's my kind of thing. He could triple paradiddle a drum solo for 20 minutes. and it sounds so amazing, but he's actually doing something really simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of So the good kind of all round between the pipe band and the orchestra, the jazz band. Of course, in the orchestra, I was also playing other instruments, timpani, and all these other things, even glockenspiel, xylophone back then. So a good all round basis.
That's a hell of a well-rounded sort of musical styles there, from jazz band to orchestra. Yeah. So I'm guessing you were reading dots, I'm assuming, at that point as well, because you can't really busk the orchestral stuff, can you?
Yeah, I could read dots then. Same with the pipe. Well, in the pipe band, it was there was just a left and right line.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But when you were learning stuff there, you had to read the dots in. I can't now.
Oh, well.
No, I couldn't do it now. I can't even remember. I think it was hi-hat in the bottom line or the top line. I can't even remember.
Top line. Cross on the top line.
I did used to read the dots here back then. Yeah.
You kind of done all right without it, haven't you, since? Let's be honest. So,
Yeah, well, if you look at any of the best musicians in the world, very few of them read music.
Yeah. It's a great thing if you need it. If you don't, it's one of those things, isn't it? But as you say, the rudiments, having that is everything, isn't it? What you've got in your hands there, and you can do what you want them to do. Amazing thing, because did you? I'm assuming with the pipe band thing, you were playing traditional grip, I assume.
Yeah.
So did that ever cross over to kit or not? Did you always play matched on kit?
I can do both. It's just, but when you're playing in punk bands and rock bands, hitting hard like that, it's like painful.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
The corp used to do it. You used to see a stick gaffer taped in.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I can play like that. I can play like that. I can play like that. I could do whatever. But I can play like that if you want. Music.
Yeah. It just looks a bit odd, doesn't it, when you get that going? There's very
but it's one of the things with the pipe bands when you're a kid and you've got these older guys in the pipe bands tutoring you, and you'd be learning rudiments, and you go in one week and you go, right, okay, today we're going to lead everything on the left hand, so you need to start everything with your left hand, and they'll do that for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we're back to the right hand, and then they'll make you play traditional, opposite traditional, so they would do it as part of your training.
That's tough going, that.
yeah, and back then, there's going to be a lot of kids going to be really, really upset at this. When I'm stood at a pad with someone tutoring me, if I made a mistake, you knew you made a mistake because you get hit on the knuckles with a drumstick.
Couldn't do that these days. All the snowflakes around. Whoa.
Well, there you go. There you go. And it didn't do us any harm. It just made you better. Better. You're less likely to make a mistake.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But I love hearing about this. It's very similar with the American with the drum corps thing. And I always think that you have an advantage on any other drummer if you can. I mean, most of the rudiments. Let's be honest. Well, not most of. A lot of the rudiments you're never going to use. Let's be honest. But, all the standard stuff, there's probably about 8 or 10 that you're going to use throughout your career. And I'll probably get shot down in flames for saying that, but that's my own personal.
I'm about to. Well, which ones don't you use? I mean, I could tell you, on albums I've recorded, I've done a triple flammy diddle.
Have you really? Good God. Yeah. I can play one, but I've never used it, I'll be honest.
Yeah. But, I couldn't think of a rhythm I've not used at some point.
Well,
most of the time without even thinking about it, I just flip something in.
See, that's interesting because obviously I'm not I'm self-taught as well. I'm a reading drummer, but I've sort of used the rudiments for what I need it for. But because you've done it as part of your your band thing, I suppose it's second nature to you, isn't it? And that's amazing. I'm a bit jealous of that.
No, I wouldn't even think about it. It was just like I've got to come up with a completely different fill for something.
Yeah,
and I'll just accidentally just throw something in. Yeah. I've not done it for ages, and it's more difficult now because getting back into it now, having not played for years. The painful thing is the mind still recalls perfectly, and the mind tells the hands, "Play that," and the hands go,
Oh, do you get to play fairly regularly, or do whoever your tour managing or whatever? Do you ever get to sit behind a kit and just go, "Well, I'll sound check it for you today"? Does that ever happen? Or
I have done it, yeah, but it's not. I don't do it very often because it's not really much fun, especially when you're saying like sound checking.
Yeah,
somebody's just going to say hit the kick drum for 10 minutes.
Sure,
sure,
yeah,
it's not fun.
No,
if you start doing anything for fun, then there's people just going to complain because they're making noise unnecessarily.
Absolutely, I'm sure you'd be the first one to do it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So do you have a kit at home whenever I suppose you're not at home that often, but do you have a kit there where you can, woodshed on and just get the chop?
Well, there's it's behind me there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I've got a V kit sat in the office here. I've got an old maple sat down the shed.
Yeah.
But I just got the V kit more often than not because it's just there. Anyway.
For the easy option. Yeah. I mean, obviously, so you've developed in bands, and tell me how did it come about with the Almighty Guys? Because that's quite an important bit of the story, isn't it?
How did we start?
Yeah, how did you meet each other and everything?
Well, I've known a bass player since we were 8 years old, I think.
Oh wow, it went back that far.
Yeah, when we were kids, before we were musicians. Now, he also ended up in the school orchestra playing euphonium. Yeah, so we knew each other then, and I started playing drums. And then he, as well as doing euphonium, started taking bass lessons at the school as well for the orchestra. And then I can't remember exactly, but we ended up in a band with two other mates of ours who got guitars for Christmas, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
So I had my parents scraped together every penny they had, as well did I, and bought a really old second-hand drum kit made by Hoshino.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was all different drums, different colours and stuff like that. And we just would get together in parents' living rooms and track out punk rock cover tunes. That undertones, stuff sort of things, that kind of thing back then. And then Richard Warwick Esquire, who grew up Newton Ards, Northern Ireland, just outside Belfast. His family moved to the market town that we live in when he was 13 or 14 and ended up at our school. And he ended up at our school and news travelled pretty quickly. The new kid in town also had a guitar. So conversations had. So he ended up in the band that we had going with some mates, and we ended up with 3 guitar players for a while, which obviously doesn't work very well unless you're Iron Maiden. And one of them got removed, and then various other things happened. You know, lineup changes, people get bored with it, and all that kind of stuff. You know, we changed the name a few times, we changed styles a few times, started writing, throwing stuff around. Yeah, got locally famous as it were. Played in some clubs, supported some bigger artists. Then we kind of all just wandered off and disappeared for a few years, couple 2 years, probably 3 years, whatever. And Ricky got himself involved with New Model Army, playing session guitar for a year or so. And when that ended, he came back, phoned us up and said he's fancy putting something together again, like we did before. And it was just the 3 of us then. And I can't remember exactly what happened. So we ended up getting a tour with Andy McCaffrey from the Glasgow scene, because that's where we were rehearsed at that time.
Yep.
And that was the Almighty starting. So it was a long time evolving. Yeah. It didn't just start as the Almighty. There was loads of stuff, with the same 3 people in the basis of it rolling along.
But I think that's a good thing. The way it evolves, it kind of finds its feet, finds its flavour a little bit.
Yeah.
Some overnight stuff. I don't know. I like the fact that it's evolved and found its place. Yeah.
I mean, we grew up together. We grew up together, so we grew up in the same area. We grew up with the same music. Absolutely. We grew up with each other, So
yeah,
so it has a different thing. It also means that we'll argue about stupid stuff, but we'll also get over it very quickly.
yeah. That's a band thing, isn't it? So how soon was it before you recorded the first album? Was it quite a while, or were you gigging around a bit before then?
We were kind of always gigging. When we regrouped after Ricky came back from the NMA thing, we knocked some songs about. We started doing some local shows. We started going up and down. We did a couple of London marquee shows. Because at the time, because of Ricky's New Orlando connection, their tour manager, Tommy T, was helping out with things. So he was getting some doors open for us. Sure. So when we started gigging properly, we got signed within a year.
Really? Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And it was a lot to do with, I think it was Richard Heggie, journalist. There was a lot of journalists, you get a couple of journalists who turn up to one show. And then one of them just happened to write, "This is either the worst thing I've ever seen or the best thing I've ever seen, not quite sure." And that got a lot of interest. And then a lot of journalists started getting involved. And so then record companies started going, hold on, what's going on here? And they're all scared they're going to miss something.
Yeah.
So they all start turning up. And Polydor panicked first.
What a way of putting it. So were you gigging around basically the songs from Blood, Fire and Love at that point? Was that your set, or was new stuff written for that album, or?
It was kind of all evolving then. Yeah, there was a lot of what ended up in Blood, Fire and Love we were playing. In fact, most of it. When we actually had to do the album, then we would go into it more seriously and work on more songs to get an album out of it,
Sure.
But there was early versions of a lot of the Blood, Fire songs being played by us. And before we got signed round about that time, when I said to you, we were younger, we were in bands together. None of us were in like popular covers bands.
Sure.
we were always just doing new wave or punk stuff, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like anyone was like, you know, doing Dire Straits, whatever, you know.
I mean, I remember when that album came out, and I was about, oh gosh, what would I have been? I don't know, because was it 89 when it came out, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, so I'd have been kind of 18, something like that, 17 or 18. I remember it coming out, breath of fresh air, bought it straight away and loved it. And then I think the first time I saw you live would have been, it was a couple of years after with, now let me get this right, I think it was it Megadeth and Alice in Chains? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it was in the NEC in Birmingham, and I remember I was absolutely blown away. Do you remember? You know, when you get a tour like that, it must be pretty exciting.
Alice were completely unknown.
Oh, okay.
They were getting booed all over the place because it was the whole Seattle thing hadn't kicked off for them.
Okay, interesting.
They were playing for a straight metal Odysseys and knocking down very well in a lot of places. It was after that tour they went on to Aussie, I think.
Yeah.
And that shot them famous.
Yeah, they did all right after that. Yeah. But I say, I remember being absolutely just Megadeth, not really a Megadeth fan, but I think I went because you guys were playing, you know. I thought, we'll see what the others are like. And I just remember that energy. And then I think the second time I've seen you was Donington, which is just like a standout performance for, you know. Now, I know you opened that day.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Just give us your memories of that, because that was just astounding. I remember the weather was shit. That's what I do remember.
I don't actually remember the weather.
It was horrible.
Memories from that day was actually quite terrifying in a lot of ways. I mean, we were we actually just done Mannheim Monsters of Rock a few weeks before, so we'd already done 65,000, 70,000 people.
Yeah,
which was a godsend, because at the time there was loads of interviews and stuff going on, all this, so you were kind of being dragged about all over the place. And then bigger and bigger. And then coming up to when we were due on, Tommy Vance, Radio 1 Rock DJ at the time, was introducing bands, but because we were first on, he didn't want to introduce us because he was too famous to be introduced the first on.
Really?
And this all happened at the last second, and that's how Bomber, my old drum tech, Paul Jackson, God bless his soul, deceased now, at the last second, we like, you need to introduce us, and he's like, fuck off. No, you'll need. And that's the guy's voice on the live recording.
And what an introduction!
Yeah.
Tommy Vance could have done it like that. Yeah.
No, and neither could Tommy Vance, to be honest. So there you go. And then when he did that, and I do recall we started with Crucified, and the reason we started with Crucified was because no sound check, no line check. We started with Crucified. The sound engineers got a couple of minutes to get the drums, a couple of seconds to get the drums.
Yeah.
There's a couple of seconds with the bass. There's got a couple of seconds with X guitar, a couple of seconds with, so he's got a chance to, to get some level. And that's why we started with Crucified. And my main memory is when Bomber did the introduction and the cheer went up, the adrenaline went, and I just started it too fast. and I remember Floyd turning around. You can actually see on camera somewhere, because see Floyd turning around at me going, fucking good! Because I started it too fast. And I'm like, it's too late now. We're in.
You know what? That's really interesting, because it's a great opening song anyway, but obviously mere mortals stood in the audience, we'd have no idea why you chose that song. And I suppose it makes perfect sense, because you've got, I don't know, 4 bars of drums to go at straight away, then the bass, and then everything else sort of comes in gradually. It's almost like a live line check, isn't it?
Yeah. So when we just, I can't remember. It was probably the sound engineer that suggested it, and we just went, well, makes sense. Otherwise, you're 1, 2, 3, 4, everything's in, and it could be terrible.
Yeah.
And it's in front of that amount of people being filmed live for MTV. You don't want to be terrible.
and it wasn't. It was. I remember it was breathtaking, and there might have been people there who perhaps weren't familiar with the Almighty, and I remember being in the middle of it, and everyone was just like, "Whoa, God!" And it was incredible. I bet it went like that, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't remember how long we were actually on for. Was it only 30, 35 minutes or something? I don't even know.
Seven or eight songs. It wasn't a lot, was it?
Yeah. But I mean, the first song would have been 30, 35, 40 at a push, really, minutes.
Yeah. But I mean, I when you opened with that tune, because I loved it anyway. Because there's it's probably not an intentional thing, but I hear a little bit of Hot for Teacher in that intro. The Van Halen tune, and
No, you're absolutely right. When it was first written, when we first did it, it was completely unintentional.
Yeah,
but not very long after, I heard Hot for Teacher and went, bloody hell.
And that's a compliment, by the way, because it's both great tunes, and they're a similar tempo as well, aren't they? So it's kind of.
I don't even know. It's just because it's that's a similarity.
Yeah,
but and of course I had heard Hot for Teacher, before, but
of course
I was always a punk rather than a rocker. It was not something that was conscious in my head.
Sure.
When we did the song, it just happened to fit with the riff. Like I said, it was months and months later. I heard Hot for Teacher and went, shit.
Sorry for bringing it up, but there you go. And do you know something else? As a young drummer, I'd have been 91. Yeah, I'd have been 18. So I must have been younger when the first album came out, and I'd have been 19 or 18. Forget. And it was the sight of that massive Pearl kit on the rack, and it was just like that is the most classic looking heavy metal kit you could ever see, isn't it? Do you still have that set of drums?
Not that one, no. Unfortunately, no, not that one. Long gone.
Oh, was it really?
I wish I did actually, but yeah, it's long gone.
Some memories with that, you just look at it and you go, "That is, it's such a classic." The double bass with the I don't know, was it 4 rack toms and 2 floors or something like that? It's just
3 racks, 2 floors. Yeah,
3 racks. Yeah, I just remember looking at it, going, I want that. So do you, obviously, it's great that we're talking here, and I can't believe that you're actually, this is something I've thought, this would be great if it happens, you're actually getting back together, original lineup for 3 gigs. I think, is it the 30th, the 1st and the 2nd, 30th of November, 1st of December, 2nd of
Yeah,
December.
that's correct, yeah.
And how are you feeling about that? Is it excitement, dread, nerves? How does that sit with you?
All of it. To be honest, it's I'm quite nervous because I'm not played for so long. But I just had Floyd the bass player over for the weekend. We did 5 hours on Saturday and 4 hours on Sunday, so that kind of relaxed me a little bit because there was, of course, we were rough here and there, but there was also certain points where we were totally in the pocket. I never not played together for 15 years. That was quite weird.
Absolutely.
It was just like, whoa, that's pretty good. I mean, there's obviously loads of stuff we need to work on, but we've still got plenty of time to do that.
Yeah.
And it's and it could well be 3 racks and 2 floors.
Really? So have you got? Have you got a kit that you've got there then that you're going to be using?
I just picked it up yesterday.
Oh, can you say what it is or not? Is that top secret?
What make?
Yeah.
Natal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Because the guy that used to be at Pearl when I was at Pearl at Natal, George Frederick, and George said, "Would you be interested?" I'm more than interested in working with George Frederick any day of the week.
Fantastic.
So the very Natal kindly knocked me up. Sorry, custom built me a kit.
Threw it together.
Yeah, just something together. And I picked it up yesterday.
So, are you still have you got double bass rather than the pedal, or have you gone for?
You have to wait and see.
Oh, and I will. I'll be there on the 1st.
Yeah, but of course, you end up with 3 racks and 2 floors because over like 2 or 3, 4 albums, you end up doing drum fills with what you've got. So to have anything less, you're like, right, where'd I go here?
I can't tell you how, and I've got friends who are massive Almighty fans, and when this news broke, it was kind of like, I can't believe is this a joke? And there it is. The gigs are announced. How's that going to feel when you hit Barrowlands on that? Is it a Friday? It's a Friday, I think, Barrowlands, isn't it? How's that going to feel going on with the original lineup? It's just going to. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit bonkers. Yeah, it's quite nerve wracking. Barrowlands is an intimidating place to be at the best of times, and it being our first original lineup show for 32 years. Yeah, it's going to be quite nerve wracking. you got to get it right in the bars.
Oh.
You got to get it right.
I honestly, I just can't imagine, and I'm so really looking forward to this. I can't believe it. So, is it? I'm not after any spoilers, and you wouldn't give them anyway. But is it been hard to sort of set out, or has it kind of found its own place? Did it fall in quite easily?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things, there's certain tracks that have to be.
Yeah.
But no, it's not been easy at all, and it's still ongoing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. It is. We started with a pool of 40 songs, nice. To try to whittle down to 21, 22.
Yeah,
we're still doing it.
Yeah,
there's so many tracks from so many albums. And when we were touring all the time, you would lean more heavily on the album you've just done.
Of course.
And with some classics thrown in, but because it's been such a long time, it's been really difficult.
Yeah.
All four of us have got songs being left out that we would prefer to be doing, but we just simply can't play for 5 hours.
Oh no. Not after not playing for so long, because with a high energy band like that, and in all seriousness, gig fitness it's a thing, isn't it? I've spoke to, I think it was Nigel Glockler about this after COVID, when they came back to do the show in the Apollo with Uriah Heep, Diamond Head and Girls School. And I said, how was the fitness? And he said it was tough, because it's full on, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, just playing over the weekend, which is it's the first time I sat down a real kit for years and went at it. And my forearms and knuckle, everything. I'm just getting cramped in places I didn't even know you could get them. Yeah.
But you'll be right by then. It'll be cooking. And have you got a good stretch where the four of you are in a room where you can really go for it as well? Have you got a good amount of time planned for that, or some time anyway, at least?
Yeah, we've got 4 days booked.
Is that it?
Yeah, but everyone's doing it at home. Ricky and Tantrum have been playing together on Zoom and stuff like that.
Sure.
It's more difficult for me and Floyd, obviously, to Zoom a drum kit. You can't really do it. It's So, but I've been doing my homework here. I'll be doing some practice while I'm out on tour as well.
Yeah.
So we should walk into that rehearsal room and everyone's got their homework correct.
Fingers crossed.
And then all we have to do is lock in.
Yeah. The magic will come back. It'll be it's like riding a bike, isn't it?
Until that will fall out.
Put some stabilizers on. So, and I guess, have you, over the years, do you kind of, it's sometimes a bit weird listening to your own music, but have you had to listen to the songs to try and get the form of the song back and see where it goes and stuff?
Yeah, no, totally. 100%. I started listening to stuff when we first talked about this, and some of it I'm listening to go, I didn't play that, but I certainly couldn't play it now. Yeah, I've had to, like the forum. Just getting the whole thing back in your head. Remind yourself of fills.
Yeah.
Or of, stop yourself continually getting in the end section when it's the middle 8.
Proves it's live, doesn't it? I suppose.
Yeah. I've had to make up a massive playlist, and every time I'm on a long haul flight, I'm just going over and over and over to try and get it in the head.
Yeah. I suppose that is one good thing. Well, I don't mean one good thing, but one advantage of the job you're doing at the moment. You've got lots of traveling time when you can actually afford to do that, where you've got nothing else to do,
Yeah. I mean, there's always something else to do, but that's what I've been doing. Long haul flights, because you tend to get left alone then on long haul flights. And to me, it was weird to start with, because we record an album, release an album. you're out on tour, but you never listen to that album again for years and years. So I literally hadn't listened to most of that stuff in 20 years.
Yeah.
And had to sit and go through it all.
Was there any like pleasant surprises going through it? And you thought, yeah, that's amazing. A song that perhaps you've not thought much of and listened to it and gone, that's a great song. It must be interesting.
On one occasion a few weeks ago, I did Power Tripping and Crank all the way through, start to finish, back to back, twice on a flight. And I got off the flight and I texted Ricky. I say, well, man, some of those arrangements are just outstanding. Yeah. You just like, we were a bit bonkers back then. Some of the arrangements are just insane. But, you know.
That's why you're such a great band, such a popular band. And I tell you what, I can't tell you how excited and pleased I am that you're back. You know, if it's for only 3 gigs, then it's for only 3 gigs. But who knows, you might... you know what we're all hoping. This is going to be it now. But
I'm hoping to get through 3 gigs.
I'm sure you will.
We might walk off stage in Glasgow and go, that's it, fuck it.
Please don't. I'm coming to Manchester the night after, so, you know. Please don't do that. Yeah, I you know, we've got every faith in you. It's going to be fine. It'll be great. And
sure.
Look, Stumpy, I can't tell you, honestly, this has been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you giving your time up, mate. So, and we're looking forward to seeing you, you know, wherever, if it's Glasgow, Manchester or London, either of the shows, we know they're going to be fantastic.
Yeah, looking forward to it myself. Thanks for your time, Matty. And my apologies for my tardiness at the start.
Don't worry about that at all. So hopefully I'll get to say hello in Manchester with a bit of luck. And
yeah, nice sure. Yeah, just give it a shout. Give it a shout. I'm sure Adam will sort you out.
But I hope so. And you're not tour managing this one as well, are you? You're not getting a doubling fee.
No. I tried that before with the charity shows. It just became, you know, when you get straight to the box office 5 minutes before you're due on stage, it gets a bit much.
Oh, top man, Stumpy. Honestly, what a pleasure, mate. Thank you so much.
Nice one, mate.
All the best. We'll see you in December. Cheers, mate.
Great, man. Nice one.